Okay. Hi, everybody. It's good to see everybody. You know, it's kind of a nice evening out there tonight. We took a little walk. It feels nice. It was hot, but it was nice. Okay, Pat, no problem. Anyway, I'm going to begin. We're in the third lecture of our 4-week series on relationships. And tonight, the topic is how to have a healthy relationship with someone else, with others. And so basically, I want to begin by doing a reading from Each Day in the Beginning, which is a daily meditation book for women in recovery, and one of my favorite readings, August 3rd. All that is necessary to make this world a better place to live in is to love. To love as Christ loved, or to love as Buddha loved. To be unconditionally loved is our birthright, and we are so loved by God. Desire just such a love for one another, and we deserve it. Yes, it's a human quality to look for love before giving it. Thus, many of us search intently for signs of love. Too many of us are searching rather than loving. Truly loving another means letting go of all expectations. It means full acceptance, even celebration of another's personhood. Not easy, but so rewarding to ourselves as well as to the one who is the focus of our love. Love is a balm that heals. Loving lightens our burdens, wherever they are. It invites our inner joy to emerge, but most of all, it connects us one to each other. Loneliness leaves, we no longer alienate our environment. Love is the mortar that holds the human structure together. Without the expression of love, it crumbles. This recovery program has offered us a plan for loving others as well as ourselves. Love will come to us just as surely as we share it. Each and every expression of love I offer today will make smooth another step I take in the journey of my life. I wanted to read that tonight because we're going to talk a lot about that word tonight, the word love. I want to emphasize that I'm going to start off with a little meditation about it. But basically, it's a very powerful and beautiful word that unfortunately in our society has been misused and put into a lot of other different directions. But the real energy that we have deep down inside of us is that power and energy of love. And so just to kind of begin this tonight, I'd like you just for a couple of minutes to close your eyes, relax, and just kind of go with me a little bit. I'd like you to realize that at the beginning of time, our time, for each and every one of us, the moment of our birth, God, our creator, gave us a gift, the most powerful gift God could have given us, the gift of our love. He gave us the gift as powerful energy, and he told us to take that gift with you. It will always be with you. And yet, as we go into this world that we live in today, sometimes we get mixed up. Sometimes we forget the gifts we have deep down inside. And as a result, very many times we get caught up in the externals and the things around us. But God also promised to walk alongside of us, to be our partner on the journey. And if we have the courage to ask for help and guidance, then messengers will be sent into our life to teach us, to be with us, and to help us to rediscover that beautiful and powerful energy, the energy of our love. And so as we accept this gift, and as we embrace it, and as we share it, it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. For it is the gift of healing, the gift of growth, the gift of life. And so I ask you now to kind of come back and be with me. I want to share some things I really consider important in this talk tonight. I started off with that little visualization about the energy and the power of love. But I really believe this very deeply. I believe that all of us, no matter who we are on this earth, we all have that gift deep down inside of us. Even if we run into situations and people that are negative, the gift is still inside them. If somehow it can be touched, it can be activated. And as a result, then we're able to see how this can touched so many other people. In the course of our journey in life, also, we experience something else. We experience the fact that as we develop a sense of relationships, what is a relationship? It is a way for me to express the energy and the love inside of me to others, to situations, and to people in the course of the journey of my life. And so that gift has to be shared. If it's shared, then it becomes a powerful healing process, a powerful growing process. So tonight, what I'd like to do, I'd like to, if you don't mind, divide you up into 4 parts. I know you won't mind that. Okay, John, you don't mind, I know that. I'm gonna divide you up into 4 parts. Each one of us, we are physical creatures. We have a body. We also are sexual creatures. We have a sense of who we are. We have a sense of our intimacy and closeness. We have a relationship with our body. We are also emotional creatures. We have feelings. Those feelings are a powerful gift. They allow us to be able to feel both sadness and joy. We also are spiritual creatures. Our spirit is what makes us who we are. It's our uniqueness. It's our specialness. It's the fact that not one of us here tonight is the same. We're all unique. We're all special. And that spirit makes us the unique individual that we are. But above all, we're also social creatures. We have a tremendous need to interact, to be connected, and to be part of the rest of the world and people around us, and to be part of the growth process, because all of our growth comes from a community, it comes from a family system, it comes from us interacting and connecting with one another. Remember, Thomas Merton said it beautifully, we are not islands. We can't function all by ourselves. We need others. Our growth comes from that. What happens to many of us, though, we have a tendency to do things backwards. That's because we're human. And so literally, normally, when it comes to relationships, we usually begin them on a physical level. And many of us get stuck on that level. And as a result, then, the concept is we look at relationships, we look at love only from a physical perspective. And if we do that, eventually it'll die. Well, eventually the excitement will wear off. And eventually we want to move on to something else. But in order to have a real good relationship, we have to have all 4. And so whether you realize it or not, the way to do this is to go the opposite way. So tonight, what I want to do is I want to put social first, spirit second, emotions third, and unfortunately, physical number 4. Do that for a reason. I think that so many times in the course of our journey, relationships are not things that we can find. They're not something we can go on apps and things to that effect. They're things that have to be grown and developed over a period of time. Because the energy of love is something we have to be able to experience. It takes time, patience, and growth for that to really happen. And so we look at this process, we realize that since we're social creatures, we have this tremendous need deep down inside to be interconnected with other human beings. And I'm learning in my life today, and we really experienced this recently with the pandemic. It's almost like we're isolated away from other individuals and people. And all of a sudden, we began to grow in instead of out, like we should. And so it's scary sometimes. And yet, we have to look at the positive as well as the negative. It's the yin and the yang of life when you come right down to it. And so we have to realize over and over again that as we interact with other human beings, we learn something called the law of attraction. So as we connect with each other and we're part of each other, we learn the concept that our learning comes from one another. And so the law of attraction tells us that if we have patience and if we take time, everything in life will happen in God's time, not in our time. It'll happen how it's supposed to. You have to be open to it. And over a period of time, some of those people we socialize with, we interact with, who are learning from, Some of them will migrate into our life and become closer. And as a result, we are then around people we feel spiritually connected. They help us to acknowledge our spirituality with people I feel safe with, I feel comfortable with, people I can be bonded to, people I can learn, I can grow from. Like I said last week, people I can let my hair down with if they had hair to let down, but I can let my hair down with it. But the bottom line is, they're people with I feel safe, I feel comfortable. And with that, then I'm able to express my emotions, express my feelings. I'm building friendships. I'm building a sense. I'm getting to know people, share with people. And what's powerful about that is when it does come to the physical level, I may have somebody very significant in my life I can share my life with. But in order to do that, I don't give up me. I still am an individual and a person, just as you are. But at the same time, I'm able to share that and learn and grow from people that are very special in my life, and yet others that are in my life also. You know, when I talk about relationships, I want to describe something to you. If we were here person, I would do this with having people play roles, but I'll use my hands. Italians, you can do that with your hands, it's not a problem. So anyway, first of all, we have what we call the A-shaped relationship. It goes like this. I'm dependent on you, you're dependent on me. I can't function without you, you can't function without me. So if anything happens to me, I'm done. I don't exist anymore. We call that a very addictive, possessive relationship. Then we have the other relationship, I call that back-to-back relationships. We're literally, we're in the same house, we function together, we get things done, but we have no eye contact, no intimacy, no connection. And as a result, we go through rituals, we go through functions, and eventually the undertaker picks us up. We don't have a life because the real gift inside of us is not developed. The real element of relationships have to have space and distance, have to have individuality, and at the same time, to be connected on a spiritual level with one another. And that's why in good, healthy relationships, I must never give up the gift of who I am as a person. Because I bring myself into the relationship. I bring the love from inside of me into all the things that I do. And we take that not just in a personal relationship with someone, we also take that into our job, into our life, into things that we do, because it comes down to the spirit I have inside of me as a person needs to be shared, needs to be connected with others. And that's exciting. It opens up the door in so many different ways. So I can begin to look at things through a different set of eyes, instead of just a duty to be done. And as a result, then I also learned the meaning of the word intimacy and closeness, the meaning of the word to share. Even in a committed relationship, we have individuals who literally can be bonded to each other and be miles and miles away from each other. It doesn't make a difference because that connection is on a spiritual level. It's on a level of love. It's a concept of it. And so we look at that in a very powerful way. I've said this so many times that a real gift of my sexuality is to share the gift of myself, the intimacy of myself with another human being. But see, sex is an act. Intimacy is a bonding. So there's this closeness, this bonding. So growth is taking place. So this energy of love has a powerful process, because with it, we're able then to heal, we're able to forgive, we're able to allow people to be who they are, we're allow others to be able to experience the gift of who they are as a person, to really enjoy and celebrate as they grow and grow into who they are as individuals. We can do this with our kids, with everybody else. We give them the sense of being able to realize that they too have this energy and gift we passed on to them, that gift of love. And therefore, to let them go, to let them discover it, to let them begin in touch with it. And so real relationships means I have to learn to be able to accept, and real love is unconditional. So I have to accept people where they're at, not where I want them to be. and realize the fact that I'm not going to find my peacefulness and my serenity in going out and find somebody to give it to me. It has to come from me to others and then back. It's that process of sharing, of going back and forth with one another. That's what life really is all about. And it could be simple little things. The energy of love has a lot of faces. It can be acknowledging another human being. It can be saying, I care about you, you care about me. It can be giving somebody a gift. It can be saying thank you to a waiter. It can be the little things we reach out to people in so many different ways. You know, it's funny today, there was a lady sitting in the waiting room waiting for a counselor. And I went over and sat down next to her. And I haven't seen her in a long time. I asked her how she was doing and all that. And she brought out this little trinket. She said, Vince, I got to show you something. She had a beautiful little photograph of the Blessed Mother. She said, I want to share this with you. And I put my hand on it and I said, why don't we just say a prayer? Say a prayer together. And we said a little prayer together. Later on, the therapist came to me and said, I don't know what you did, but that lady came into this session so full of energy, so full of life. I said, we just said a prayer. But it's the fact that we take time for stuff like that. It's the little things that count. It's the acknowledgements. It's just that I didn't have to say the word love. I can let the word come out of me and be shared with others. And that's where people in relationships have to learn to bond with one another, be connected with one another. And yes, sometimes it gets a little rough. And we're going to go through changes because your life changes dramatically all the time. I always tell the story, you've heard me tell it many times. When I was a priest, I had the privilege and the honor of performing a lot of weddings, probably a couple hundred of them. But it's interesting how I have these beautiful, beautiful young people in front of me. And they say, I promise to love you the way I love you today to the day I die. I have to shoot them before they leave the altar. As soon as they turn around and walk down the aisle, it's changed already. And it keeps changing because change is part of love. Change is part of this energy. So in relationships, we're in a constant process of changing, of developing something new, of realizing the fact that I want to help you to grow, you're going to help me to grow, we help each other to grow. And even when it comes to individuals that you have a hard time with, people going through struggles, sometimes the only gift you can give them is the gift of your love. That might be in the form of a prayer, just caring, and all the little things that touch so many things in the course of our journey in life. And even somebody you have a hard time with, we know in the program, what do they teach us? Pray for them, wish them well, let them go. Realize the fact they're on their journey and they have to find this energy. They only find it when they're ready to find it, but hopefully someone will touch them and allow them to open that energy up to let it come out. And that's when it comes to relationships, we can't try to control a relationship. The biggest mistakes we make is when I want somebody to be what I want them to be. They can only be who they are. And that's why in all relationships, we see a constant process of change taking place. As you get older, more changes take place. As your children go older, more changes take place. There's always this change, constant change, this process. So I got a choice. I can go with the change or have another midlife crisis and want to go back and be something I'm not. So much fun just to move forward, begin to experience this. And yes, you're going to feel disappointments. You're going to feel loss. You're going to go through changes. And sometimes even individual relationships have to say goodbye to one another. Not just by death, but in other ways too. That's part of life. And so the secret is to be able to take the energy we have inside of us. That energy has a lot of different faces. You have sexual energy. We have the energy of our emotions and our feelings. We have physical energy with one another. All those things are part of our growth process. But take that energy of our spirit and be able just to share it. And we learned this from our 12-step programs, because I've said this so many times. One of the greatest gifts in recovery I've had is to be around people that are working on themselves and sharing the gift of themselves, are sharing their hurts and their struggles, because they're helping me and giving me permission to share mine. And that's what's so beautiful about it. And the early founders understood this, because they realized the fact that we're all connected, we're all part of one another. And yes, we're going to have days when we're down. And some days, sometimes we have to just try to the best of our ability to get through the day. But, sometimes you're going to pick up a phone, talk to somebody, find out an energy from somebody else, get connected. There's always this process going on inside of us, because we're lovers. Congratulations. And yet that energy's got to be shared, because I've learned something. If I don't share my energy, or share my spirit, or share the gift of who I am, it's going to die. It's going to die. It's got to be shared so it can come back. It's the process. Do it in very many different ways. Laughter is a great concept of love. Be able to share with one another. I always joke about it here at Holiday City. I got a bunch of guys. We actually we're called the custodial committee. We're the committee that takes care of the clubhouse. We do all the cleaning, the scrubbing, and the maintenance of the place. We have a lot of fun, but we meet at the gym every morning. And what do? We laugh. I call it my therapy session. We laugh, we cut each other up. We have a lot of fun. We do all kinds of crazy stuff. The other day, one of the guys was make sure everything's the way it's supposed to be. We actually had an induction ceremony, put a sheriff's badge on him, so we can make sure he takes care of the whole place for us. But we have good stuff like that. That's the fun part about life. Laughter is part of the journey. Sadness is part of the journey. These are all faces of love. They come in many different directions. And we need them all, because they're all part of our growth, part of our development. And if I'm going to be able to interact with another human being, I have to be able to interact with that person on a level of equal, and also to allow them just to be who they are. And that's where the most beautiful gift I've learned in my whole entire recovery, the gift of acceptance. To accept people where they are, not where I want them to be, and to be able to learn from that and grow from that. And with acceptance comes faith and trust, comes a beautiful way of building relationship. I learned in the course of my own journey in life, it's the simple things that make relationships. Let me share one of my favorite stories with you. And growing up as a kid in Camden, we had an old Italian couple, Sinigale and Semejanad. Now, don't ask me where those names came from. But back then, all those crazy Italians had a lot of crazy names back then. But Sinigale and Semejanad, we used to call them the odd couple. Now, Sinigale, he was about maybe 5'6", probably weighed total maybe 112 pounds. Semejanad was a pretty big woman, probably clocked in at about 270, somewhere in that area. Very large lady. But here's the thing we used to love as kids. Every Friday, we went to the show. For example, Sinigale would come out of the house, and he had his little red wagon when he came out of the house. In the little red wagon, he would go around, it was trash day. He'd go around the streets and collect what he called his treasures. People called it trash, he called them treasures. He would come home and the show would start. He would gather them up, bring them into the house. You would hear a scream in the house. Both his treasures and him would come flying out of the house. But he's a very patient man. He'd gather them up, bring them back in, back out they come. He'd gather them up, bring them back in. What he did was he wore it down till eventually they stayed in. What I love so much about that was you could see them in the evening. A lot of times in the evening, we used to be able to sit around, the steps and things of that effect. But at nighttime, the two of them would be sitting on the step, holding hands. And the one thing you could feel when you're around them, how much they loved one another. The energy. Yeah, she tossed him out with his treasures, but he had this beautiful smile on his face. because they were connected, they were bonded. I've seen this so many times, of course, a gentleman, Dominic, who I love the man to death, man, unbelievable. Fantastic guy. I learned so much from him. He was one of these characters, from South Philadelphia, lived across the street from me here in Holiday City. And every night he would go out on his driveway and put beach chairs up. Maybe 4 or 5 beach chairs, and just sit there and wait for people to come. He used to say to me, "It's okay, Vince. Just come out, sit down, smile, and people will join us." And they always did. By the end of the evening, the place was filled with bringing their chairs and sitting down. What I love so much about him was his sense of humor, his sense of people, his sense of caring. He had that energy and that love inside of him. And he cares so much about people around him. I remember being with him shortly before he died. He was in a hospital bed inside his house. And we talked. We used to have a lot of fun talking together. And sometimes, one of our greatest topics we talked together about was Gunsmoke. We enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun. But simple little things. I was talking to him and he says to me, Vince, he said, "I think it's time for me to go visit the big man." I said, "Who's the big man?" He said, "You know who it is, the boss." I said, "Okay." I said, "You sure it's time?" He said, "Yeah." He said, I've been on this earth a long time." He said, "I think it's time for a rest." He said, "So I probably won't see you too much longer down here, but don't worry. I'll go up there and I'll keep giving you a lot of laughter and a lot of fun in your life. I'll still be around, don't worry." And the ironical part about it is the next day, my wife was with him when he died. And the beautiful part, I did the eulogy at his funeral. And at the eulogy, I talked about what I refer to as a man of love, a man that loved his neighbors, a man that just simply made time just to be around people and be with people. And people would come and just sit and we just talk about nothing sometimes. And that's okay. But it was a sense of community, a sense of bonding, a sense of togetherness. And that's what's so important. Unfortunately, the world we live in today, we kind of forgot some of this. Got to bring it back. And so as each and every one of us go on our journey, especially in our personal relationship with someone we're very close to love them to the best of our ability, to give them the gift that we have inside of us. Might be a simple compliment. It might just saying, "Hey, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're part of my journey." To realize that even at work in different places, but it's the little things that are gigantic. And that's where faith comes into play. Because I truly believe that the real energy, the real power of love in all relationships are the simple little things of relationships, not the big things. We get so caught up sometimes in performance, when in reality, it's not what it's about. It's about being real. It's about being open. It's about being around people, learning and growing from the people around you. And it's a beautiful thing because you can almost enjoy laughter and enjoy life. Will there be sadness? Love has sadness. Love has loss. We're going to go different things in the course of our life. And also part of it too is aging. You're going to age. Congratulations. It's part of life. No matter what happens, it happens. What can I tell you? I was talking to my wife the other day. I said, "How the hell did I get to be 82? Gee, God, what happened? A couple of days ago, I was just 65. Now I'm 82. That's the way it goes. What are you going to do? And don't worry, we'll all get there. It's all part of the journey. And even those people we've lost are part of our journey in life. We haven't lost them. If they've given us the gift of love and we shared it, we never lose them because they're in here. See, love is here. It's not here. This is intellectual. Down here in your heart is the real gift of love. And it's just being able to give that gift. And it could just be in hello. It can be, I acknowledge you. You're important. I can listen. It's all part of it. And in my prayers every morning, I try to pray for those people, that are struggling and suffering. And I pray for myself too, because I know my own struggling and suffering. I even pray for Loretta too, because she needs it. But the bottom line is I'm constantly praying and being open. Hope she prays for me too. It's all part of it, right, John? But it's a big part of the journey we got to go through in life. So let's learn to care for one another, because these are the relationships that are important in life. And as a result, then we can see the beauty in each and every one of us. And even the beauty in those they have a hard time seeing the beauty in. Because deep down inside somewhere there is. And hopefully and pray every day, maybe it'll come back out again. Maybe there'll be an awakening. That's the important part of it. And so tonight in prayer, I'd ask that each and every one of us to take the time to look within our own hearts and be able to give the gift that we have inside of us, that energy and that spirit, and just give it to another human being. And do it in simple ways and yet beautiful ways to help all of us on our journey on this earth. You know, even when we leave this earth, we continue that journey of loving, of keeping the energy going back and forth to one another. And that's what it's really all about. That's why I've said so many times, you'll never die. Nobody dies. Your body does. But your spirit and your energy touches others, and your spirit carries on. And every person you meet in the course of your journey in life. So let us pray. God, we come before you tonight in prayer. We ask the God of our understanding, we ask our Creator, and we thank you for the gift you've given to us. The gift of love, the gift of this beautiful, powerful energy, this energy of healing, this energy of growth. Please help us to be open to this energy. Teach us to share it. Thank you so much for all the messengers and people and teachers you send into our life. Help us to be both teachers and pupils every day of our life. Help us to be open to learn from one another, to grow from each other. Teach us the value of life, the value of who we are. Teach us to be open on this journey. Teach us to realize how special and beautiful each one of us is. We just give that little gift to one another. Help each other. Be connected to one another. Help us also to feel the sadness, to be able to say goodbye. And even saying goodbye, we're still saying hello, just in a different way. And so, God, we ask you, please, to be with us, to guide us. And please reach out to those who are struggling. And help us to share this beautiful gift you've given us with others. And if we do that, it'll come back 100-fold. And I truly believe that if we have patience and we listen to you, the people we're supposed to share this with will arrive into our life. We pray and we ask this tonight. We pray it every day. We pray it in your name. Amen. And now, if you don't mind unmuting, our beautiful maestro is going to lead us. Pat, it's all yours, kid.
God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.